Good morning, comrades! Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the Nürburgring. I hope you all are having a wonderful day and welcome to a pretty special video. Why is this special? Well, because the majority of my channel is populated either by vlogs or by onboards, so whenever I'm talking straight into the camera to you guys, I think it makes it very personal, so pretty special when we talk about one specific subject. And in this case, slightly less than a week ago, I published a video where I talked about the two bad crashes that I was involved in as an instructor, which made me make the decision of quit my job as an in-car instructor. I will still be doing the car-to-car instructions, data analysis, etc., but having done that for the last more than 5 years, 6, maybe 7 years of being in car with people, experiencing in person the joy that they had when they would be going faster, safer, they would beat their personal best, etc. That was very rewarding, very amazing. And unfortunately, for the sake of my own safety, I had to say, no, I will not be going to do that. And following the video, there were many questions, many comments, for which I want to first of all say massive thank to all of you guys for giving me such a support and understanding. A lot of people have brought up also an example of Sean Edwards, instructor that was, or race car driver that was killed as an instructor in one of the accidents, I think in 2013. And yes, it's actually, the unfortunate statistics do show that people on the passenger seat are more likely to pass away during a car accident. This could be because the passenger does not have understanding of where the car is going. He's not holding onto the steering wheel, for example. And maybe, possibly, the driver, whichever he's thinking, his self-preservation instincts will kick in and he will try to steer away the danger from himself, but more likely towards the passenger. Not only Sean Edwards was killed, like there are a couple of Nürburgring accidents that I don't want to go too much into detail, where passenger was unfortunately the fatal victim, where the driver got away. Georgi Tebzadze, my YouTube icon, drifting the E34 M5s through Georgia. He was coming back home from a party one night and he was on the passenger seat because he drank and he didn't want to drive. Drank, what you shouldn't be doing. And unfortunately the driver lost control and thereby he was killed. We're going a bit away off topic here, so what I want to say again, massive thank you to all your support, and actually one massive thank you to a fella named Jens, who actually wrote to me on Instagram and said like, hey, I saw your video, I saw about your crashes, I'm a professional physiotherapist, would you like to come by and we can have a look? And that's what I did. I went to his place and he really took his time. I think we spent more than an hour together of checking my neck and giving all kinds of massages, and I felt completely different person afterwards. And I can say that by now I can actually get in the car. I'm confident we're getting back into racing next week, something I'm very much excited, and I'm very happy. So thank you very much, Jens. I will put your Instagram detail below. It's private Instagram, but maybe some of you guys, if you have some issues and you live in the area of Düsseldorf nearby, maybe you can write him and he can help you out. So this is a small, not a small, but a very big thank you. Just a quick thing about this, in case you missed one of the previous videos. This is a brace for my tendonitis. So I have inflamed nerve from the thumb, which was already happening about like 2 months ago. It was just like slightly getting, like I was having tiny little pain, like 2% pain in the mornings, and then would start gradually increase. And then I completely messed up when we were like shoveling mud by helping out, by volunteering. And speaking of which, we do need still volunteers. There's still lots of action happening. I should go out and show you what is currently being done. And if you were discouraged by the previous work of working in the basement and shoveling mud, right now it's lots of demolition, lots of action. Still, to an extent, dangerous and physically very demanding job. But reach out to me on Instagram, send me a DM if you want to come and help out one of the coming days, and I'll put you in touch with the group and hopefully I will join myself. But at this point, I'm not really efficient myself. So going back to the questions that many of you have asked, one of them, the most important or like the most obvious thing, especially for the new audience, was what are you going to do now that you have quit instruction job? Is your job even safe at Apex? And so hereby I want to say, well, first of all, when one door closes, another door will open, and stay tuned for upcoming weekend. There's going to be a very interesting announcement. My t-shirt has nothing to do with it. There's nothing to do with Rimac, but since we're talking about Rimac automobile, I want to say a massive shout out and that I'm very happy for the team for all the achievements that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, making it the fastest production car in the world, actually achieving it by numbers. It's been very cool. I'm very happy and excited for them, and I hope to see them soon here at the Nürburgring. But this has nothing to do, in this case. This weekend there'll be something very special. I'm very excited to share it with you. But let's take a step back and maybe for the newer audience explain what I'm actually doing at Apex. I'm actually together with Robert, and you could say Diana more or less, because she was also our first employee who helped a lot. I'm one of the co-founders, you would say, of Apex. So Robert and I started Apex together because we had a vision, we had passion for the Nürburgring. So in the early days, 2017, 2018, I would be doing everything, like emails, customer contact, instructions, at some point also taxi driving, you name it. If it had to be done, it would be either, well, Robert or Diana or I, but since Robert was taking care of his own businesses, it was Diana or I that had to do all the things pretty much. So if you're new to this channel, check out the vlogs that were shot back in 2017. There are a lot of cool moments and stories. So that was back then. And as the time progressed, I started to focus also more on my YouTube career, you would say, media career. I was doing stuff with Audi for the various media projects, for TV shows, etc., and just my own YouTube channel. And actually, there was a lot of time dedicated to that. Later on, I would also move to Rimac, then I would come back, start doing instructions again, also doing taxi drives on some dedicated track days, and still doing lots of things behind the scene, and still also do all kinds of occasional things at Apex, such as like doing laundry runs, picking up supplies, volunteering, etc., etc. So I am not, although I was doing instructions, the instructions was not my only job. So don't worry, my job is secure. I hope so. Robert, maybe you can send him a message and just check out if my job is still secure. No, all is fine, all is well. As mentioned, on the weekend we have something interesting coming. But another question was, who would be doing instructions now that you are leaving? Well, since we have a fleet of close to 10 cars by now, with some cars taking out of action or replaced, it's a bit less than that. You can imagine when we have 7 cars going out on a day, I cannot be in all of them all at the same time. So we have actually quite a big pool of instructors, and you can check them out on our instruction page at Apex, so you can see who they all are. We have to add a couple of new ones, by the way, but there are actually quite some people who are doing that. Now, that's, I think, pretty much it regarding me and instructions. Now, there were actually a couple of interesting comments, or I would say suggestions. And some people said like, hey, why don't you do live instructions where you mount some sort of like live broadcasting device, either live camera into the car, and you have an intercom and you are sitting outside of the car out of the harm's way, so you don't have to put yourself in danger, basically. And it's a very interesting thought, especially in today's day and age when we're like used to having this like work from home mentality. You can do pretty much everything at home from your computer, Zoom conference calls, Microsoft Teams conference calls, then it's fine. However, in this particular scenario, this will not work because of a couple of reasons. First of all, it's hardware issues, because Nürburgring Nordschleife is a very big track, and connectivity will be an issue. There are a couple of spots which are actually dead spots. There is no connection. Whenever there's a 24-hour race, for example, either Vodafone, I don't think we had Telecom as like the 24 hours of Nürburgring business partner, but they come with like big broadcasting masts, so they would have like constant connection there, connectivity. So in day-to-day use, you would lose connection. And even if you not lose connection, live broadcasting still has a micro delay. Even half a second delay will be already too late if I or whoever would say like you have to brake, and that person hears it half a second later. That's going to be already too late. So the hardware, when it comes to making these live instructions, is just like simply not there. Now, the second point why it would not be possible is because a lot of car dynamics, like characteristics, components, inputs are actually make it or break it when it comes to giving the correct instructor inputs, or like whichever driver inputs, because things that you cannot feel through just like video are the weight distribution, the tire temperature and tire pressure, the suspension, the way it handles. And the thing that actually got me into trouble, the lift off oversteer, the weight distribution as mentioned previously, this is something you cannot transcend through video. There are a lot of other things. Okay, you can put a rear view camera and see what kind of traffic is behind incoming. You can maybe have 4K, 8K video, which would make the details of the track very good. But especially the tracks such as Nürburgring, Nordschleife, where you need to know or feel sometimes the track characteristics to such a certainty, so you can like go closer to the limit. In these situations, what I'm talking about is like when it's drizzling slightly and the track is slightly damp, then it's already dangerous to drive on the dry line. So you need to adjust your driving style. And on the camera, you quite often cannot see it. You cannot even see if it starts to rain until you start moving wipers when you look on onboard videos. So a lot of these inputs would get lost or actually not be possible to be shown and seen through camera situation. Thereby, this is simply, although it is a great idea, a lot of people have proposed it in the comments, this is something that is unfortunately not feasible in today's technology. Of course, maybe in 10, 20, 30 years, when the technology would move on and you would actually have the moving simulators right now, and you yourself can put yourself as an instructor in one of the moving simulator, and the driver goes in the real car, and these two things synchronize. But this is so far-fetched. At this point, you can just say like, you know what? We're just gonna do car-to-car instructions. You can lead and follow, and then the instructor can be the driver, and you as the one, as the, so to say, the student gets on the passenger seat, so you can see what is actually what. And of course, there are plenty of other instructors that still do the passenger seat instructors, but some, like me, have decided to say no against it. So this is a quick explanation regarding the many comments that came regarding this idea. In the past, there were actually a lot of also comments or suggestions following my instruction video saying like, hey, you know what? You should make an app which is going to be GPS based with your voice input, and that the app, just like a casual GPS app, would be telling you like, hey, you should, okay, turn left now, turn right now. And again, the fundamental of the idea is great, of course. I mean, it works on a public road, on the streets that you need to turn left. But on the track, you have so many, again, different inputs, the variables of the car, because turn left, turn right, and brake at some point, but the braking points differ depending on the car that you drive, like based on the aerodynamics, based on the tires that you have, the suspension components, so many different variables. And sometimes actually we have seen crashes on the Nürburgring when driver would get out and say like, hey, I could go through here in the Porsche GT3R full throttle 300, why cannot go 120 with the Volkswagen Polo or a Suzuki Swift or whatever car? Yes, well, because there are many different reasons, because of the completely different scenario. And of course you might think like, one car can go through it a lot faster, why can I go through this corner a lot slower? Well, because yeah, different tires, different aerodynamics, etc, etc. Also track characteristics, maybe there is sand from oil because the oil was spilled and then they covered it in sand. It's not that grippy, again it could be wet. So idea sounds great, but it will unfortunately not work. And finally, there were a lot of questions, suggestions, saying like, hey, maybe you should go out just only in slow cars, or only let people drive only slow cars and then let them go out maybe in the faster cars, and then you can decide for yourself if you want to join them in a faster car. So for example, why don't you go in just in just the Polo? I love going out in the Polo. Why don't you take me even a slower car, not Polo GTI, but something slower? Some people suggested like a Fiat 500 or a Suzuki Swift. I can tell you the base fundamentals of all the crashes pretty much is that they happen when we expect them the least to happen, because when we expect them to happen, we'll actually do necessary precautions. We'll take away the speed, we'll slow down, we'll adjust the driving style. As an instructor, you can tell the driver maybe, hey, don't lift through there because you might be intended to lift through there, or don't go on that curb. But sometimes things may seem obvious. Sometimes we may expect people to do certain things or think that when we do certain things, they will not happen. But our experience is lacking or our understanding. And when things occur, because we didn't know that they're gonna happen, I hope you understand where I'm getting at, because it becomes like pretty long explanation. But accidents tend to happen when we expect them the least. And it doesn't matter if you're driving in a Cayman or a very slow car. I've seen many slow cars, probably more slow cars, I would say, being on the roof, like Suzuki Swifts and Abarths and like Polos, and of course more faster cars than actually significantly faster cars, because when we drive something faster, we're actually a lot more cautious, and we think in a slow car we're actually fine because we're not doing the certain speeds. But even going back a couple of months ago when we had an incident with the Yaris, I was also on the passenger seat, and the driver kicked in the clutch in a relatively slow corner, but we hit the barrier with only like, probably 20 kilometers per hour. This is something that you would not expect, and eventually did lead to a crash, and luckily just a small and minor one. So what I want to say is that always be cautious and expect the unexpected, and it is a constantly ongoing journey that you have to learn from your mistakes. Better is, of course, to learn from other people's mistakes, and I hope that hereby I can also tell you about my mistakes so you can learn from them, and yeah, sometimes about others as well. That's, I guess, pretty much all I wanted to say. A couple of questions and comments that I wanted to address. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Again, stay tuned for the weekend's announcement. And if you like this Q&A, maybe let's do something else. So drop your comments below. We can address them in one of the upcoming videos. I will definitely want to make a video about things that I learned as an instructor when it comes to the mistakes that people make, or like the very fundamental mistakes that people make, so that can help prepare you for your first track outing, whether it's Nürburgring or any other track, or maybe even on the public roads. So something like that is coming up for sure. But if you have any other ideas, suggestions, etc., just let me know in the comments. And yeah, wishing you a nice weekend in advance, although we still have Friday. Hey, there's DTM race this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, what? So, okay, we are at the end of the video because we're losing traction here. But it's better to lose traction on the video than on the track. Okay, we're really going off topic. There is a DTM race happening at the Nürburgring on the GP track, and on the Nordschleife. It's full weekend of Touristenfahrten, so public session Nürburgring. If you have no plans for the weekend, come by here, have lots of fun, watch the DTM race, and then drive yourself or have a taxi lap, passenger lap, etc. on the Nordschleife. So looking forward to seeing you here in real life, and otherwise tomorrow on my channel when who knows what's gonna happen. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.